A Second Chance at Love. Previous episodes are available in playlist, a link is given in the video description. Episode 87. A frozen smile. Roxanne's heart fell as her pity for Grant was instantly wiped clean. She forced a smile that was tinged with bitterness. Well then, I guess his divorce from Winnie was just a ploy to garner sympathy. I wonder what his motivations are behind all these. Lucian nodded his head. Someone of his status would not care for someone like Grant. However, he was worried about Roxanne being upset over having such a father. Perhaps he's trying to get close to you now that you possess the wealth he desires. Lucian's words eliminated the need for further analysis of Grant's actions. Roxanne felt so disappointed that she resolved never to give her errant father another chance. 1 week later, Roxanne no longer frequented the research institute often, yet new medicine was being produced incessantly. The pricing set by the medical company meant that they were suffering losses every month. Flora Verba Group flourished under James' leadership, whereby its profits kept increasing until it was sufficient to cover the cost it took to research the medicine. The officials in the company had invited Roxanne to attend their commendation assembly multiple times and wished to crown her with several titles of honor, all of which she'd refused. Harvey had taught her not to pursue pointless fame. He could have generated a fortune yet had chosen to remain a research professor. On that day, Roxanne led Peregrine and several higher UPS in the research institute to the hotel. They were preparing to meet with a medical company from Adrun to discuss patent rights. Although they suffered losses locally, granting their patent to an international company would help them generate more profit. The licensing fees will be calculated annually and will be around $1 billion for 10 years. After which the other party will be able to freely use the technology to produce all 6 types of medicine without limit. Linda gave a brief report to Roxanne while walking. Then she led the team and held her head high while walking confidently, attracting the attention of the hotel guests. The negotiation process was simple. She faced the snobbish representatives from the international company and insisted on the price she'd set no matter how hard they tried to negotiate with her. She finally had a say after many years of complying with their terms while using their patent. At last, they relented and agreed to Roxanne's price. Both parties signed the relevant documents swiftly. Peregrine lamented as they exited the hotel. I remember once, during my years at the research center in the north, I needed foreign technology to save a patient. The foreigners intentionally withheld it from me, and I had no choice but to watch helplessly as my patient's life drained away. All they care about is profit and have no respect for ethics. Roxanne nodded. She'd heard of similar incidents from her mentor as well. Roxanne, the truth is that many people overlook how brilliant and great a person you are. They may take you as a fool for having a non-profit-oriented research organization and medical company. However, you focus on the big picture. That is something most ordinary people can't comprehend. I'm extremely blessed to have a chance to work with you on such a meaningful initiative. Peregrine was overcome with emotion. The rest of the higher UPS in doing research and development echoed his sentiments as they nodded. They have never even dreamed of living a life of riches and glory when deciding to follow Roxanne as their leader. Yet Flora Verba Group had unexpectedly given them huge bonuses. Everyone present had gotten bonuses worth several million. I have to admit that I'm not as far-sighted as you think. I simply can't stand watching people in poverty suffer all their lives because of illness. That was indeed how she'd initially set her goal out to be. The drastic changes along the way had not been part of the plan. Suddenly, Roxanne caught sight of a face that was familiar yet unfamiliar to her while she was about to step out of the hotel entrance. Slap-clad in designer attire with a heavily made-up face, Juliana was adorned with gold and silver jewelry on her wrists, neck, and ears, exuding a sense of opulence and grandeur. Upon laying eyes on Roxanne, she was momentarily surprised. However, she quickly regained her composure and arched her eyebrows, smiling as she strode toward her sister. "Isn't this my dear sister? It's such a coincidence. We haven't seen each other in 6 or 7 years, right?" Juliana's voice was always tinged with a sarcastic tone. Roxanne's expression was solemn, and her eyes reflected an indifferent attitude. She retorted immediately, "I heard you were a tour guide in Southeast Apleth. How did you suddenly fulfill your dream of becoming part of a wealthy family?" Peregrine and Linda, standing beside her, exchanged surprised glances as they tried to discern Juliana's identity. Why would she dare to act so arrogantly in front of Roxanne? Roxanne shot Linda a look, the latter immediately nodded and led Peregrine and the other executives away. "How can I ever compare to you, Roxanne? I never imagined that Mr. Farwell of the Farwell Group would remarry you. You're the one who has achieved your dream by attaching yourself to a wealthy family. I'm nothing compared to you." Juliana's words were full of sarcasm. Without giving Roxanne a chance to retaliate, she continued, "Looks like having children brings many benefits. A responsible man like Mr. Farwell must have remarried you because of the children. I need to follow your lead, Roxanne." A grim look crept onto Roxanne's face. As there was no one else around, she felt no need to be courteous toward Juliana. "Juliana, you are still as sharp-tongued as ever. However, trying to provoke me with those worthless words is futile now." Her smile froze. She'd bumped into the person she abhorred the most, Juliana. "I guess you must be jealous. So what if I did marry into a wealthy family? I should remind you to check the current market value of Flora Verba Group. I'm now a wealthy woman in my own right. Do you understand?" Roxanne hissed. Her quick-witted remarks shattered Juliana's pretentious pride. Her face reddened with embarrassment as she clenched her teeth and gave Roxanne a cold glare. "Don't get too smug, Roxanne. Life is long and unpredictable, and no one knows what will happen in the future. But one thing is for sure, in the past, you were nothing but a punching bag for me." Juliana intended to flaunt her own superiority by bringing up past events, but to her surprise, Roxanne remembered everything vividly. She shot Juliana a ferocious glare and swiftly landed a hard slap on the woman's face. Slap! Juliana cradled her stinging cheek and seethed with anger. "How dare you hit me?" As she shouted in anger, she lifted her hand, poised to strike back. However, she was caught off guard when suddenly, 4 to 5 figures surrounded Roxanne. Those were bodyguards that Lucian had arranged to always be by Roxanne's side. They were ordered to follow her in public areas and remain alert, especially when she came into contact with someone unfamiliar. The sight of Roxanne taking action naturally made them vigilant, and they immediately appeared by her side as quickly as possible to ensure her safety. As soon as Juliana raised her right hand, one of the bodyguards swiftly grabbed her wrist while the other pinned her to the ground, leaving her no time to react. Although their actions weren't too violent, they still caused a scene and attracted the attention of many onlookers. Yuliana felt utterly embarrassed as she was held to the ground before she even had the time to react. She gritted her teeth and screamed, "What do you guys want? Aren't you afraid that I'll call the police? Roxanne, I can't believe you." Roxanne towered over Yuliana, looking down at her while saying in an icy tone, "Call the police? Sure, go ahead." Foolish Roxanne knew that she was losing control of herself and that her actions might really cause her to end up getting arrested. However, she couldn't care less. All the resentment she had been enduring for years could only be vented through slaps. Yuliana was in a daze after the second slap. By then, the hotel security noticed that something was wrong. He approached them, seemingly to stop Roxanne's actions. Just then, an onlooker called out, "Isn't that Roxanne, the young mistress of the Farwell family?" "Yes. I can't believe it's her. I didn't expect her to have such an aggressive side." "Hey, stop filming. There must be a reason why Roxanne slapped the woman. I bet she's evil." Following a hushed exchange between the onlookers, the security personnel exchanged glances and hastened to obstruct the onlookers' view. They didn't dare to get too close, as the hostile aura emanating from the bodyguards was intimidating. "Please calm down, Mrs. Farwell. There are a lot of people here, and we're worried that it may affect your reputation," urged the head of the security team. Although his reminder calmed her down a little, she continued fixing her cold gaze on Yuliana. Over the years, Yuliana had subjected her to various forms of bullying and humiliation. Yuliana had also verbally abused Roxanne's mother, claiming the latter was unworthy of love and inferior to Winnie. As if that wasn't bad enough, when Roxanne's mother fell seriously ill, Yuliana cursed her, wishing for her to die early. Furthermore, Yuliana had also cut up several of Roxanne's favorite outfits and burned all the classroom notes that she had worked hard on for many years. "Do you know how long I have been waiting for this day?" After speaking, she bent over slightly and raised her hand to slap Yuliana's other cheek. To make matters worse, she had purposely spread baseless rumors about Roxanne having a miscarriage while they were still in school, resulting in Roxanne being regarded with disdain by her classmates. Yuliana never stopped bullying Roxanne. In the end, she even threw away Roxanne's mother's belongings after the latter passed away. Back then, Roxanne did not have the chance to vent her anger. She could only suppress her hatred deep in her heart because Grant was biased toward Yuliana. Winnie also contributed to the bullying, and Yosef even resorted to physical violence. Her entire family was devoid of conscience. Yuliana struggled to get up from the ground while gnashing her teeth in anger, but she did not dare to act rashly again. Instead, she picked up her phone to seek help. Her husband, David Ramos, should be arriving soon. Roxanne remained calm as she waited to see how Yuliana would fight back. "Honey, where are you? Hurry up and come over. I was beaten by someone." Yuliana started weeping as if she had just suffered grievances. Roxanne was curious about the identity of Yuliana's honey after witnessing the other woman's poor acting. Unexpectedly, a few minutes later, Lucian arrived before David did. Linda could sense Roxanne's anger before she left. Rationalizing that Yuliana was not to be underestimated, she decided to inform Lucian about what was happening. Upon seeing the hatred in Roxanne's eyes, he went straight to her and took her hand, expressing his concern for her well-being. "Are you all right?" Lucian asked gently as he examined if Roxanne was hurt. The woman shook her head and replied, "Lucian, this is that amazing stepsister of mine, Yuliana." Lucian's eyes narrowed into slits. It was clear that the mention of her name had triggered a deep-seated rage within him. Yuliana trembled with fear as she had never been intimidated by someone's glare before. "So, you are the one who bullied Roxanne for so many years?" he asked in an interrogating tone. Scared out of her wits, Yuliana came to the realization of how foolish she was to return to Harrington and challenge Roxanne. "You may scram now." Yuliana's terror and shock outweighed the pain in her cheek. Her eyes showed fear as she spoke. "No, I'm her sister. She misunderstood a lot of things. Some were done by my mother, not me." "Lucian, please don't misunderstand me." She was aware that Roxanne had the support of Lucian, so confronting Roxanne head-on would only lead to humiliation. Thus, she hoped that Lucian would spare her if she sounded aggrieved. Lucian's face darkened when he heard her pleas, for he found her remark grating to his ears. "Who are you to address me by my name? We're not related in any way. My wife has never acknowledged you as her sister," he declared. Roxanne was similarly appalled by Yuliana's shameless behavior, and anger boiled within her as she snarled, "Listen, Yuliana. Even if we share the same last name, I don't have a sister like you. If you keep talking nonsense, I'll tear your mouth apart." The ingratiating smile on Yuliana's lips froze. Countless thoughts raced through her mind, but eventually, she clenched her jaw and caved in. "Fine. I won't call you by your name, then. Mr. and Mrs. Farwell, are you planning on beating me to death in public?" Lucian was surprised to see how fast her attitude changed. "Beat you to death? You don't deserve my time. You'd better stop scheming against my wife, or I'll make sure your life becomes a living hell," Lucian warned, so annoyed that he almost felt like laughing. He then shot Roxanne a reassuring look. After thinking it through, Roxanne knew that it was pointless to slap someone like Yuliana. It was not like a few slaps could knock any sense into her. Her fury slowly faded into thin air. A hint of arrogance flashed across her gaze as she gave a dismissive wave. "You may scram now, Yuliana." That was the most humiliating moment in Yuliana's life, ever. She was consumed by such intense fury that her heart was wrenching with anger. Gritting her teeth, she wanted nothing more than to tear Roxanne into pieces. However, her last bit of rationality urged her to leave. Staying meant enduring more of Roxanne's slaps. In the end, she shot Roxanne a vicious glare and spun on her heels to hasten away. "Roxanne, I won't forget this. I swear I'll make you experience endless humiliation and anguish." After regaining her composure, Roxanne realized her adrenaline level had returned to normal, causing her to feel drained all of a sudden. Seeing that, Lucian grabbed her arm so she could lean on him for support. "Are you okay?" Roxanne nodded and flashed a satisfied grin. "I'm sorry for losing my temper. When I saw Yuliana, all I could think about was getting revenge." "I understand. You don't have to explain anything," said Lucian, silently making up his mind. The security guards of the hotel returned to their positions after Roxanne got into the car, and the guests who were hoping to witness the unfolding drama were disappointed. When Lucian drove Roxanne home, the children were there, too. Leaving Roxanne to spend time with the kids, he entered his study to give Caden a call. Lucian issued a cold command: listen carefully. Use whatever means necessary to ensure that Juliana Jarvis never sets foot in Horrington again. Caden hadn't heard his employer speak with such seriousness in a while, so he responded promptly, understood. I'll take care of it immediately. After the call ended, Lucian emerged from his study composedly and joined Roxanne in playing with the children. Explode with rage as night descended, Juliana stepped out of the clinic and caressed her swollen cheek. The memory of the earlier events flooded her mind, causing her to tremble with rage. Although Juliana had registered her marriage with David, a wealthy businessman, they were only husband and wife in name, as he refused to come to Horrington. As such, she was busy instigating David to come to Horrington to invest in a new company here. Juliana was under the impression that establishing a company like Flora Verba Group would be easy, as the company seemed to be doing well under Roxanne's lead. She had even started reaching out to some of the researchers from Roxanne's research institute, thinking that she could persuade them to join her new company with better compensation. Juliana believed that as long as she offered enough money, these researchers would abandon their current jobs and bring their technology to her company. Back at the five-star hotel, she strode to the front desk to order dinner to be sent to her room. To her shock, the receptionist gave her an apologetic smile. "Greetings, Ms. Jarvis. I'm sorry to inform you that you won't be able to continue your stay at our hotel due to some special reasons. Please pack your luggage and check out as soon as possible." Juliana was outraged after the initial shock wore off. "What do you mean? I have several thousand credits on my membership card. Why am I being denied a stay here? I can't believe you're trying to kick me, a VVIP, out. I demand to speak to your manager." No matter how furious Juliana was, the receptionist remained unfazed and apologized again, her face devoid of expression. In the end, 2 security guards came over, telling Juliana to pack her luggage. They also informed her that if she refused to do so, they would be happy to help her. Subsequently, the hotel manager came out and told her she would most probably be denied entry to every hotel in Horrington. Juliana was taken aback by the manager's words, feeling as if she had just been hit with a ton of bricks. "Why is this happening? What right do you have to do this to me? I'm going to call the police," she hollered, losing her temper. The hotel manager's gaze turned dark. "Ms. Jarvis, I'll be blunt with you. You have been blacklisted because you offended someone you shouldn't have." Realization dawned on Juliana. It's all Lucian's fault. He must have pressured them to do so. Clenching her jaw, she packed up reluctantly and left the hotel with her luggage in humiliation. At a loss, Juliana dialed her wealthy husband's number in a panic, hoping he could help her out of the mess she had gotten herself into. "Honey, I'm in a bit of trouble here. Can you see if there's any way you can help me out?" she asked with a hint of coyness. In the past, David would usually acquiesce to her requests whenever she used her coy charm on him. After all, he was an older man in his 50s who had a weakness for her flirting. To her surprise, David replied coldly, "Buy a plane ticket and leave Horrington tonight, or else our marriage will be over." Yuliana gaped incredulously. "Honey, what's wrong? Don't tell me." Despite being based in Gurdon, David was a powerful and wealthy figure with connections in Chania that he had been expanding in recent years. Yuliana found it hard to believe that he stood no chance against Lucian. "Who do you think you are, offending the Farwell family? Are you trying to drag me into your mess? I can give you all the money you want, but if you try to harm me, I'll dump you instantly. Your body is the only thing that matters to me, so don't think you're indispensable. If you refuse to return to Gurdon, you won't need to come back ever again. Keep the money I gave you." David wasn't naive. It dawned on him, albeit belatedly, that his new wife was nothing but trouble after receiving a call from the Farwell family. He was well aware that the Farwell family was a powerful entity not just in Horrington but beyond, and he was in no position to make enemies with them. After the call ended, Yuliana stood on the bustling street, allowing the chilly breeze to bite at her skin. Despite the cold, she felt her blood boiling with fury. A little sister. Despite her reluctance, Yuliana couldn't afford to lose David as he was her cash cow. She had no choice but to call her mother and inform her about the situation. Winnie was consumed with anger upon hearing about the situation and couldn't stop cursing Roxanne. "Yuliana, what should we do next? You should return to David's side. You're too easy to find here, and the Farwell family is a powerful enemy. I'm still here, and we'll find a chance to retaliate. There's no way we'd let this slide without putting up a fight. I'll make sure they get a taste of their own medicine when I have the chance to harm the 3 children." Winnie was currently basking in the luxurious life of owning 2 houses and dreaming of her prosperous future. Little did she know that Roxanne would stir up trouble at this very moment. Not only did Roxanne refuse to acknowledge their stepmother-stepdaughter relationship, but she even had the audacity to target Yuliana, her precious daughter. Hence, Winnie would definitely avenge her daughter. "Mom, I understand. I'll leave soon. When Yosef returns, tell him to keep a low profile and not provoke Roxanne. She's out for blood and will target anyone she can. We'll have our chance for revenge later. And forget about that loser, Grant. Leave him." The mother and daughter duo acted as if they were never going to see each other again. Roxanne, on the other hand, knew nothing about their conversation. All she knew was that she was thoroughly disappointed in that family. She had found a new family, one that could serve as her safe harbor and her source of support. She felt as if she were about to explode with rage. "Roxanne Jarvis, just you wait. I won't forget how you humiliated me today. Calamity will certainly befall you and your children." Lucian finally breathed a sigh of relief when Caden reported to him that Yuliana had left Horrington that same night. That night, Roxanne's stomach churned violently. It was unclear whether it was due to her agitation earlier in the day that her stomach was acting up. She ran into the bathroom and started retching. Seeing how uncomfortable she was, Lucian patted her back gently and asked what she ate that day to cause an upset stomach. However, Roxanne lifted her head, her lips curling into a sweet smile. Lucian was stunned for a brief moment before he understood the meaning behind her smile. A look of surprise crossed his face. "Really? Are you sure?" he asked urgently. Roxanne gave him the side eye. "Don't forget that I'm a doctor." Take your own pulse and confirm it. Lucian could barely tamp down his excitement. Roxanne shook her head as she splashed water on her face. There's no point in doing that as it's too early to detect anything. But I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant. My period has been late for over 10 days. Besides, I ate the same food as you today. There's no reason for me to have a stomach bug when you're doing fine, she calmly stated her judgment. Lucian's face lit up with a broad smile as he jumped up and down in joy, making a triumphant gesture with his hands. I'm so happy. This is great. Our baby is finally on the way. It took so long that I'm beginning to think something's wrong with me, he said half-jokingly. The next second, however, Lucian began worrying about Roxanne's busy schedule. He told her solemnly, once we confirm that you're indeed pregnant, you have to adjust your daily and work routine. I won't allow you to work too hard. Roxanne's eyes sparkle with joy as she obediently nodded. It was possible for her to relax for the time being as the research institute, hospital, and Flora Verba group were all managed by capable individuals. I should take the chance to give birth to a baby boy. No, not a boy. A little girl would be better. Essie keeps saying she wants a baby sister and that she'll be an amazing big sister. A huge fuss the following morning. Under Lucian's insistence, Roxanne relented and allowed him to drive her to the hospital. Madeline assumed that her superior was conducting a sudden inspection, so she politely invited both of them into her office. He gathered her recent work records in a neat stack and handed them to Roxanne. Boss, here you go. You should consider raising my salary. Roxanne rolled her eyes before murmuring that she might be pregnant again. Madeline's jaw dropped wide open in shock, but she soon regained her composure and beamed in delight. I'm going to have another godchild. That's great. She turned to Lucian and gave him the thumbs up. Congratulations, Mr. Farwell. Pleased, Lucian smiled and bobbed his head gently. Roxanne pouted at his reaction. Why does he look so smug? So you're saying that you came here early in the morning for a checkup to examine the baby's condition? Why would you come to the hospital? You can use a pregnancy test strip. It is inadvisable to use equipment to check your pregnancy since you have only just become pregnant, Madeline told them. Roxanne shot Lucian a pointed look. See? I told you so, didn't I? You didn't have to go to such lengths. Lucian could only listen to Madeline's advice as she was the hospital director. Soon, the pregnancy test strip showed that Roxanne was indeed pregnant. Okay. Please take good care of my best friend, Mr. Farwell. If you're looking for advice on how to take care of her, you should make sure to attend the classes offered at the obstetrics and gynecology department every week. That night, the couple stayed up till the wee hours, excitedly chatting about their plans after the baby was born. These classes will provide you with tips and advice on how to best care for pregnant women, Madeline promoted her hospital's services. She was actually joking, but to her surprise, Lucian gave a solemn nod. Okay. Sign me up, Madeline. From this week onward, I'll attend the classes to learn how to be a good father, he promised. Are you sure? Madeline blinked. Roxanne nodded in all seriousness. I can vouch that he's telling the truth. You should charge him a high price for your services. Thus, Lucian signed up for the classes and was required to attend 2 30-minute sessions per week. After leaving the hospital, Lucian hopped into the car and began driving, his excitement palpable. He asked Roxanne if she'd like to visit the shopping mall with him, eager to begin purchasing items frothy or unborn child. "Honey, you're already a father of 3. This isn't your first time. There's no need to be this excited, right?" The man's reaction left Roxanne speechless, for she thought it wasn't necessary. Lucian disregarded her and muttered to himself, "After buying new clothes, we must remember to launder them several times to ensure they are free from germs. Let's not forget to preserve a memento of the baby's footprint. Have you done that for Archie and Benny previously?" Roxanne gave a helpless shrug. When they arrived home, Jonathan's car was already parked outside. They walked into the living room to see Jonathan boiling some water there. As usual, he was here to enjoy some coffee with Lucian. "Jonathan, why are you free to pay us a visit today? I thought you were traveling," Lucian asked. It had been a while since they last saw each other, so Lucian noticed some changes in Jonathan. He appeared to be more at ease and more vivacious than usual. "Lucian, Roxanne, where did you go?" "I let myself in since you weren't around," Jonathan greeted them with a smile. "You don't have to inform us in advance. You can come whenever you want. I have stashed some premium coffee beans that I want to share with you. Let's have a taste." With that, Lucian headed into the kitchen. The coffee beans had to be kept in a cooling place to prevent them from going bad. Go with the flow. After some time, the entire living room was filled with a faint coffee fragrance. Even Roxanne couldn't help drinking 2 cups. The coffee left a pleasant aftertaste in her mouth. Lucian and Jonathan chatted idly, discussing many famous tourist spots and interesting cultural stories. Taking in Jonathan's current state, he seemed like a completely different person. "Lucian, I've completely recovered, and I think it's time for me to return to work." That was a decision Jonathan made after thorough consideration. However, Lucian appeared unhurried after hearing that. He merely glanced at Jonathan and slowly lifted his cup to savor the coffee. "Are you sure you're okay now?" he asked calmly. Jonathan nodded, the look in his eyes calm and peaceful. "Lucian, I used to think that I was pressured into doing my job, but now it seems that the business industry suits me well and is the only place where I shine." That was what Jonathan observed recently. He once thought everyone was more or less pressured into progressing in life by personal gains. However, ever since he became acquainted with Madeline, her many qualities influenced him. For Madeline, the responsibility of being the hospital's director was not just a profession but more like a career she was passionate about. Subsequently, Jonathan suddenly came to the realization that the medicinal herbs business managed by his family could actually help millions of patients too. Those collaborations with Lucian also elevated the industry and provided many job opportunities. Following those revelations, Jonathan finally laid to rest the ghost of all his doubts and dejection that had been bothering him for the past 20 years. Taking in the determined look on Jonathan's face, Lucian was reminded of their younger days when they pursued their dreams with great motivation together. "It's great that you have regained your confidence," Roxanne said with a smile. "Here's what we'll do. James is currently managing Flora Verba Group, and everything is going well there. You'll be in charge of Snuggly. In due course, will turn snugly into the country's biggest children's clothing brand." Jonathan agreed to Lucian's plan without hesitation. They chatted for a while longer before Jonathan took his leave. Once he was gone, Roxanne immediately called her best friend to ask what exactly the latter had done to bring about such a drastic change in Jonathan. Roxanne's question left Madeline somewhat puzzled. "What did I do? I didn't notice. I've been swamped, dealing with numerous patients from an accident in the past few days. I haven't been seeing Jonathan much lately." Roxanne was stumped and a little taken aback. She was under the impression that Madeline must have provided Jonathan with some kind of encouragement behind the scenes. "If so, how far has your relationship with him progressed?" she asked Madeline in curiosity. "Well, to be honest, there hasn't been much progress. We haven't even held hands," Madeline calmly explained. Then, she expressed her current state of mind. She believed in letting things happen naturally and didn't want to be too proactive or passive. "I'll just go with the flow. I've stopped worrying about these things. Perhaps I don't carry enough weight in his heart." Speaking of which, Coralie came to the hospital recently to settle her previous medical expenses and asked me to return the money Jonathan had paid on her behalf. Madeline's tone carried a hint of fatigue. Roxanne could understand the helplessness of being caught in an awkward position. Not knowing how to console or comfort Madeline, Roxanne could only tell her to take good care of herself and not overwork. "I got it. Bring the 3 kids over to my place when you're free. My mom won't stop talking about them. She learned many new dishes and wants the children to try them." Blessed when the children returned from school, Roxanne told them that their godmother wanted to see them and play with them. All 3 kids happily agreed and waited for their godmother to pick them up. 20 minutes later, Madeline arrived at the manor and brought the children away. Roxanne discussed with Lucian, planning to inform Elias and Sonia about her pregnancy. "Dad, Mom, Lucian, and I have something to tell you," Roxanne said calmly to her parents-in-law. Upon hearing their daughter-in-law's solemn tone, the couple looked shocked, thinking something serious had happened. In their opinion, there wasn't much their son couldn't handle, so if Lucian and Roxanne needed their help, that matter must be pretty severe. Roxanne didn't realize that there was anything wrong with her tone either. Lucian, on the other hand, was all smiles when he looked at his parents upon entering the room. "Lucian, what happened?" Sonia asked anxiously. Lucian and Roxanne exchanged glances, their excitement barely concealed. They then quickly asked Sonia and Elias to sit down. "Dad, Mom, why are you so nervous?" "Roxanne and I want to tell you some great news." Lucian couldn't stop himself from grinning. Roxanne also noticed the tension in her parents-in-law's expressions and decided to cut to the chase. "Dad, Mom, our family may be welcoming a 4th child soon." "What? Really?" Elias and Sonia were both stunned for a moment before exchanging incredulous glances. Immediately afterward, they beamed from ear to ear in utter delight. "Roxanne, are you telling the truth? You're finally pregnant? This is such a pleasant surprise." Sonia couldn't help clapping her hands. Roxanne nodded and agreed. With Madeline always busy at work and Lorraine being a stranger in a strange land, it was natural for the latter to feel slightly lonely. Hence, Roxanne figured letting the children spend more time with Lorraine would be a good idea. Then, she stood up in enrapturement, walked over to Roxanne, and held the latter's hand. Elias was similarly overjoyed, scratching his head and asking, "That's great, so what should we do next?" "Sonia, you must start preparing nourishments for Roxanne." Sonia nodded vigorously. "Absolutely. That is a must." "Roxanne, hurry up and write down everything you want to eat and drink." "I can make anything you want. I can learn even if I don't know how to make them." Lucian had anticipated his parents to react in that manner. "Dad, Mom, don't get too excited. I've already signed up for antenatal classes to learn how to take care of Roxanne during her pregnancy. Dad, you'll be in charge of the 3 children, while Mom will be responsible for the meals. Let's all be prepared to welcome the 4th child." Lucian was indeed the CEO of a large corporation, capable of even distributing household tasks reasonably and efficiently. Roxanne hadn't expected her 4th child to cause such a commotion in the family. She felt a surge of bliss in her heart. This 4th child is so much more blessed than his or her older siblings. With that in mind, she took the initiative to express her thoughts. "Dad, Mom, Lucian, I appreciate all the effort you'll put in. However, there's something I want to remind everyone, including myself. We must make sure not to show favoritism toward this new addition to our family. We must treat all the children equally, not focusing too much on the 4th child and neglecting the other 3. I think it's best not to make too much fuss regarding this pregnancy." Hearing their daughter-in-law's words, Elias and Sonia both nodded in agreement. Lucian was also startled, realizing that he could potentially make the mistake Roxanne mentioned. Hence, he reminded himself inwardly to treat each child fairly. "When did I ever say that?" During dinner, Madeline sent a video to Roxanne to inform the latter that the kids ate well. They all enjoyed the sumptuous meal very much. Madeline also reported what activities they had planned to do together. She was going to relax and play some mobile games with Archie and Benny. As she was so bad at gaming, she needed the 2 boys to guide her. Estella, on the other hand, would be learning how to make perfume sachets from Lorraine. This was something Estella enjoyed doing as well. "You know what, Roxanne? Every time my mom sees these 3 kids, she'll start badgering me afterward. I have no choice but to bring them over to distract her from her anxiety," complained Madeline. Roxanne's 3 children were so outstanding that anyone who saw them would have the urge to snatch them away. Now, a 4th one was on the way. Madeline could already imagine how Lorraine was going to nag her about starting a family once Roxanne's 4th baby was here. "If I still don't make progress with Jonathan, there's a big possibility that I'll be forced to go on blind dates," Madeline said helplessly. Though Roxanne wanted to comfort Madeline, she figured her words of consolation probably wouldn't mean much since this had happened a lot of times already. She could only chuckle and say, "Don't be so pessimistic about blind dates. Who knows? You might meet someone you like. That's enough. I'm going to play with Archie and Benny now. I'll send them back to you at around 9:30. After Madeline hung up, Roxanne suddenly recalled the past. Many people would probably feel envious of her life right now, but none of them knew how she managed through those 6 years in Epi. Just as she was deep in thought, Sonia's voice sounded from downstairs. "Roxanne, come downstairs. I made some really nourishing mushroom soup for you." Roxanne snapped back to her senses and smiled. "Okay. Coming." At the Xander residence, Madeline was having the time of her life beating her in-game enemies under Archie and Benny's guidance. The consecutive victories had her walking on air. "Seriously, I always get put to rout when the two of you are not around to guide me. It's devastating." Madeline was deeply impressed with how well-rounded the two boys were. It was unbelievable how they excelled even in gaming at such a young age. With their speed and reflexes, they were more than capable to become pro gamers in the future. Just then, Madeline's enemy sent her a message. "Jenny, did you get an expert gamer to help you today? How impressive! I told you last time that I could guide you, but it seems like you don't need it anymore." Jenny was Madeline's nickname in the game. After reading the message, she checked the nickname of the sender and found it a bit familiar. They seemed to have been matched against each other a few times before. The game would match players according to the location they picked, and Madeline usually chose the default, which was the city she was in. This meant that the player nicknamed Ocean Blue was also from Horrington. Madeline remembered that he was quite good at playing. In the few times that she played as his teammate, they had won the matches. Madeline responded, "Thanks, Blue. I just play games from time to time to relax. I enjoy the process and don't really care about the results." The truth was, she'd get so pissed off whenever she lost that she would almost smash her phone into pieces. When Archie and Benny noticed Madeline lying so outrightly, they exchanged glances and giggled secretly. Ocean Blue immediately replied with an emoji with a mocking expression. He typed, "Really? But I remember when you lost badly last time, you said you needed a mentor. Want to consider me?" Seeing that Archie and Benny were also staring at the screen, Madeline let out a dry chuckle and waved her hands in denial. This guy must have a messed up memory. When did I ever say that? On cloud 9, Madeline felt somewhat embarrassed to be exposed by this player in front of Archie and Benny. Wanting to put Ocean Blue in place, she taunted, "Blue, let's play a few more rounds. I'd like to see where you get that confidence of yours from. My godsons are with me today, so don't ever think of winning at all." Yet Ocean Blue only sent a series of mocking emojis in return, which infuriated Madeline. Nevertheless, he gladly accepted the challenge and changed the game format from 5 vs 5 to 3 vs 3. He also removed the teammates randomly assigned to him and asked 2 friends to help him instead. Benny swiftly looked into their opponents' details and found out which characters they each mastered. Archie, they're all skilled players, so it won't be as easy to beat them this time. We have to give it our all. Archie nodded firmly. Turning to Madeline, he reminded, "Aunt Madeline, you should be careful from now on. Don't be reckless, and try not to get killed repeatedly. That'll affect our team's overall performance." "Sure. I'll do whatever you say as long as we can defeat them." Madeline agreed readily. Soon, the battle began. The players from both teams utilized the best skills they had and launched the strongest attacks at each other. As Madeline concentrated on the game, she felt adrenaline surging through her body. Conversely, Archie and Benny appeared relaxed as usual, but they looked more focused than earlier. "Retreat? Aunt Madeline, retreat first. Don't let them kill you, ordered Archie, the commander of the team. Benny was quick to act. Upon noticing that Madeline was having a hard time retreating and that her health points were dwindling, he stepped forward and repulsed the enemy in an instant. The match grew more and more intense. After being killed by Archie, Ocean Blue messaged, "Both of you are indeed skilled players, but you'll be bogged down by Jenny." Madeline almost exploded in rage at his words, but Archie comforted her right away. "Don't mind him, Aunt Madeline. He is just trying to destroy our morale. He wants to disrupt our cooperation by distracting you." Benny bobbed his head in agreement. He also complimented Madeline and told her she was getting better at the game. Never in Madeline's dreams did she expect that she'd be so moved by the consolation between two little boys. "All right, I'll do my best to cooperate with you guys. I'll keep my emotions in check." As Madeline calmed down and got herself together, she started to see improvements in her skills. To her delight, they won the first round. The second round also ended in their favor, though it was a close call as their enemy's teamwork was getting more efficient. In the third round, Madeline gradually got the hang of it and chose the supporting role in the game to assist her two godsons. This setup was surprisingly effective. Unable to withstand Archie's and Benny's rapid and overwhelming attacks, the opponents were defeated sooner compared to the second round. Following the victorious match, Madeline was on cloud 9. "Aunt Madeline, I noticed that supporting characters suit you the best. You're very talented in that aspect," Archie pointed out thoughtfully. "That's right. Your move earlier was crucial. I initially thought our opponents would become more powerful in the third round, but I didn't expect our damage rate to soar like that when you began assisting us. It allowed us to win faster." Benny exclaimed, showering Madeline with praises. Madeline was elated. After all, it was not every day that she received praise from these two boys. Meanwhile, their opponents stayed silent for a long time after the crushing defeat. Madeline wasn't sure if they were conversing among themselves as they hadn't quit the game yet. Some time later, the deep and attractive voice of a man sounded. "Could your godsons be those two boys from the Farwell family? If they are, I gladly accept defeat. Is my guess correct? Did not want to see me." Madeline didn't want the kids' information to be leaked on the internet. As such, she shot them a look and shook her head before saying, "Don't answer him. You don't need to give an explanation. I had a lot of fun tonight, so let's end it here." The brothers nodded and proceeded to quit the game. "You did great today, Aunt Madeline. Your performance is several times better than before," Benny praised. A fuzzy feeling filled Madeline when she heard the boy's sweet words. On the other hand, Archie, who was more like Lucian, was seemingly deep in thought with a slight frown marring his brows. After about 10 seconds, he said to Madeline, "Aunt Madeline, you should practice using support characters in the future. It'd be better if you could become more deft when repositioning yourself." Thinking that his words made sense, Madeline nodded her head in response. These two brats are at the top of their field no matter what games they play. It was 9 o'clock in the evening when Lorraine brought Estella downstairs along with a scented sachet that the girl had sewn for the first time. With a serious expression on her face, Estella uttered, "Aunt Madeline, this scented sachet's for you. If you have a favorite flower, you can sun-dry it and put it in." I'm sure it'll smell good. Madeline took the scented sachet and nodded gratefully. You're amazing, Essie. I can't believe you're able to sew such a beautiful pattern on your first try. Just like your brothers, you have exceptional talent. Upon saying that, she scooped Estella into her arms and gave the girl a peck on the cheek. Looking at the three kids, Lorraine couldn't stop smiling. She felt envious of Sonia and Elias for having such wonderful grandchildren. She muttered, "Maddie, when do you think I could have?" Before she could finish her sentence, her daughter cut her off. "Stop it right there, Mom. You really need to stop nagging me every time you see the kids. I, too, would love to have kids, but it's not like I have anyone to have them with, you know." Sensing that her mother was about to start nagging again, Madeline quickly took the kids and left, preparing to drive them back home. To reward the kids, she stopped by a dessert shop and bought all of them some ice cream. Taking big bites of her ice cream, Madeline made sure to remind the kids, "Don't tell your parents about this, got it? Otherwise, there won't be any ice cream for you next time." In response, the trio agreed to it heartily with bright smiles on their faces. They were well aware that betraying their godmother would mean missing out on many delicious treats in the future. After finishing their cold dessert, Madeline leisurely drove the kids home and chatted with them along the way until they arrived at the Farwell residence. "Mr. Farwell, all three kids are safely and soundly back home," reported Madeline. Lucian nodded and urged the kids to head upstairs, for their mother was already waiting for them to get in the bath. Waving goodbye to Lucian, Madeline got in her car swiftly and drove off before the former could react. Lucian was just about to tell her that Jonathan was in the living room, sipping on some coffee while reporting his work. "And here I was thinking of creating an opportunity for the two of them to interact with each other." Upon driving out of the manor, Madeline could feel complex emotions swirling about in her heart. Naturally, she had seen Jonathan's car. However, for some reason, she felt a bit apprehensive about seeing him lately. "What is going on with me?" Ever since the incident with Coralie, Madeline realized that her feelings toward Jonathan seemed to have changed. She mulled over her feelings for a while and still couldn't seem to figure it out. "Ah, forget it. I should just go home and get back to playing the game. According to Archie and Benny, I should practice using support characters. Ugh, it's really distressing that I wasn't able to get my rank up for several seasons now." Meanwhile, Lucian had just returned to the living room, only to see Jonathan busy checking the financial statements. "Jonathan, didn't you notice that Madeline was here earlier?" Lucian asked curiously. "Is she? Why didn't she come in, then?" "Seek her opinion in everything." "Archie, Benny, how do you both know so much? Did you learn all that from Mommy? I want to learn, too. I want to master all that." Turning to Lucian, Estella pleaded, "Daddy, have Mommy teach me, won't you?" "Okay, okay. I'll ask your Mommy to teach you when she's free. But don't you like fashion design? Mastering fashion design is also something commendable," Lucian remarked smilingly, trying to steer her in the right direction. At the end of the day, talent and passion were entirely different from a passing interest. "All right, I'll study both, then. I want to learn medical skills and fashion design. I'll work harder." Estella looked determined, taking the matter seriously. Immediately, Archie and Benny expressed their support for her. Seeing that, Lucian felt that they doted on her too much. Upstairs, Roxanne overheard the entirety of their conversation. A smile tugged at her lips uncontrollably. In all her years, she had never felt as relaxed, peaceful, and joyful as she was at that moment. Her heart, which had been suspended in mid-air, seemed to settle back into her chest firmly. At the same time, a strong sense of security permeated her. In that instant, she felt all the more blissful. Jonathan's attention was immediately distracted from work. He stood up and looked outside. Lucian shook his head, indicating that he had no idea what was on Madeline's mind. After pondering for a moment, Jonathan's face fell, and he murmured, "Does she not want to see me?" Since Lucian was sending the triplets to the kindergarten, she had nothing to do and went back to sleep. By the time she woke up, Caden had come over at some point and brought Lucian a thick stack of documents requiring his signature as CEO personally. Ever since her narrow brush with death, a number of unprecedented things had transpired. They included Lucian skipping work for several days in a row and important contracts being brought to the mansion to be signed. Tactful as ever, Caden did as he was instructed. After all, he had never seen his employer this relaxed and smiling so much. As soon as Lucian had signed all the contracts and agreements, Caden excused himself, leaving the time and space to the man. Before his assistant left, Lucian inquired, "What's the progress of the matter I asked you to investigate last night?" "There are some leads. A man whom Frida has been in contact with is from the north. Recently, Frida established a new company and is recklessly tossing out money to buy the rapidly depreciating assets of the Damaris family. It's likely that man's doing. I'll report back to you after I've ascertained his exact identity," Caden answered in a lowered voice. The instant Lucian dipped his head, the man left. When Roxanne came to the living room, she was greeted by the sight of shopping bags on the coffee table. They either contained supplements or nutritional foods. It looks like Caden has also learned all these formalities. But then, he didn't need to buy so much. Roxanne regarded Lucian with a chuckle. Unexpectedly, Lucian shook his head, denying that they were from Caden. "Who are these from, then?" Roxanne asked. "Electra came over and brought these earlier. She wanted to visit you, but you were still sleeping, so I didn't want to wake you. I merely told her you weren't home. She didn't stay for long, leaving after dropping all this here," Lucian replied calmly. To him, such superficial niceties did not matter at all. "Oh, I see. Did you thank her on my behalf?" Although the supplements and nutritious foods were mostly superfluous advertising in the eyes of a doctor like Roxanne, she still acknowledged Electra's kind intentions. "Yet, she also asked us out for a meal. I didn't accept right away, so you can have the say." "I don't mind either way." Lucian greatly treasured the opportunity he finally had after successfully winning her back this time. Thus, he was determined to seek her opinion in everything, lest some trouble cropped up again. "Well, I'm fine either way. She has just returned from abroad and done me such a huge favor, so I should be the one treating her to a meal. You can help me extend an invitation to her in my name," Roxanne replied. Not as simple as she looks as per Roxanne's request, Lucian asked Electra out for lunch at a high-end restaurant. When they both arrived, Electra happened to reach at the same time. Roxanne did not doll up much, merely having applied some skincare products. Contrarily, Electra wore exquisite makeup, giving off an elegant and classy feeling. However, Electra could tell at a glance that Roxanne was a natural beauty who was stunningly gorgeous even without makeup. Back when she saw the latter at the hospital, Roxanne appeared haggard. As such, she did not expect such a vast difference after the woman had recovered. Unbidden, a sliver of envy crept into her since there were some flaws on her face that could only be concealed with makeup. "Hello, Ms. Lane. We meet again." Roxanne greeted without waiting for Lucian to speak first, confident and amicable. "Hello. You're really beautiful, Ms. Jarvis. No wonder Lucian couldn't forget you all these years." Electra could not help expressing a touch of jealousy. Lucian was stunned for a moment before he hastily quipped, "Indeed, Roxanne is pretty. But I'm not such a superficial person that I'm only concerned about her looks." That remark of his had Roxanne glancing at him with a smirk on her face. Similarly, Electra hurriedly smoothed things over, seconding, "But of course. Not only is Ms. Jarvis beautiful, but her capabilities are also astounding. She isn't merely a renowned doctor. On top of that, she's a leading character in high-end medical technology. There are few women like her in this world." At the woman's excessive flattery, Roxanne promptly shook her head. "Not at all, Ms. Lane. My achievements aren't that impressive. Conversely, you've sacrificed a lot because of my illness. Your family will likely misunderstand you since you faked a marriage with Lucian under tremendous pressure." "Thank you so much." She was sincere in thanking Electra, but its meaning became distorted when it reached the latter's ears. As Electra had a suspicious nature, she instinctively stole a glance at Roxanne, feeling like Roxanne was testing her. Hence, she quickly countered, "No, don't mention it. I've already explained things to my family. The marriage certificate was fake and was destroyed long ago. Don't take it to heart, Ms. Jarvis. Let's go into the restaurant first." "This isn't a suitable place to talk," Lucian proposed. Following that, the three of them went into the restaurant. After entering the private room, Roxanne immediately slid the menu over to Electra. "Lunch today will be my treat as my way of thanking you, Ms. Lane. Don't stand on ceremony with me and just order whatever you like. Lucian and I aren't picky." There was nothing special about those words, yet they grated on Electra's ears. It was as though Roxanne was staking her claim on Lucian. Taking the menu with a smile, she did not decline but ordered a few dishes. After doing so, she saw Lucian and Roxanne sitting exceedingly close in an incredibly intimate manner. For some inexplicable reason, a sense of unease filled her. Aubrey must have lost back then because she underestimated Roxanne. Roxanne is definitely not as simple as she looks. By the way, I wonder if the things I sent over previously suited you, Ms. Jarvis. I didn't know what to buy, so I picked those supplements and brought them over, Electra commented. Smiling, Roxanne thanked her. "Thank you, Ms. Lane. Supplements are perfect for someone who's recovering from a major illness like me." "That's great. I really admire you, Ms. Jarvis. Back then, you were poisoned severely with a rare substance, yet you could develop the antidote by yourself, and in less than a day, at that. It's downright mind-boggling. Electra kept praising Roxanne to the skies. Meanwhile, Roxanne deflected it all, for she did not want her mind addled by the compliments. As Madeline said, I've got to be on my guard against her. With her fawning all over someone repeatedly, the average person would likely lower their guard. Uncomfortable Lucian was so focused on Roxanne that he didn't notice anything unusual. You must be thirsty after such a long conversation, he said to Roxanne, offering her a glass of water, which she accepted with a smile. Electra couldn't help but feel a little left out as Lucian focused all his attention on Roxanne and didn't even ask if she wanted anything to drink. She called for the server and said, "Excuse me, I'm not really liking the coffee. Can I please have a glass of lemon water instead?" The dishes were brought out, including Electra's lemon water. She couldn't help but notice that Lucian was so busy serving Roxanne that he completely ignored her even though she was a guest. It was an awkward moment for her, and she regretted not declining the meal invite. Why didn't I say no? By letting Roxanne treat me to lunch, it put me to a disadvantage. Trying to break the silence, Electra said, "Lucian, Ms. Jarvis, why didn't you bring the kids along tonight?" In truth, she knew the kids were at school that day but wanted to start a conversation. "They're at school. We're planning to take them out tomorrow since it's the weekend," Roxanne replied as she spooned some of Lucian's favorite dishes onto his plate. Unable to stand the lovey-dovey actions of the couple before her, Electra continued the conversation. "I would love to meet your 3 kids. I heard they're quite the good-looking bunch. Is that true?" The topic piqued Lucian's interest. "Yes, they are. After all, Roxanne and I are their parents. You can't go wrong with genetics." Electra's heart sank as she listened, but she knew she had to put on a brave face. "Wow, I really must see for myself. I wonder what kind of gifts I should bring for them." "There's no need for that, Ms. Lane," Roxanne replied. Verily, she did not want any other problems to crop up between her and Lucian when her 3 children had finally made up for their regrets. They have everything they need at the moment. "You must be very busy since you just returned home. Don't waste your time and effort preparing gifts. I'll bring them out another time and introduce you to them." From the way Electra looked at Lucian throughout lunch, Roxanne could tell something was indeed off. It was as though Electra was trying hard to hide how much she admired Lucian. Time seemed to drag on for Electra during the meal, and she announced that she was full after only a few hurried bites. "Thank you for the meal, Ms. Jarvis. I'm a bit tied up since I just returned to the country. I need to meet a few old friends later, so what do you say we call it a day?" Electra wanted to leave as soon as possible. Roxanne nodded her head and agreed, and Electra prepared to leave the private room. She thought Lucian would at least see her off, as he was big on etiquette, but much to her dismay, he didn't even spare her a glance as he spooned food onto Roxanne's plate. "I recall that this is your favorite. Try it. It's more authentic here," he said to Roxanne, ignoring Electra's departure. Electra left, feeling utterly uncomfortable at the scene unfolding before her. Meanwhile, Roxanne narrowed her eyes as she watched Electra's retreating figure. Her experience with Aubrey and the near-death incident with Jack had changed Roxanne's state of mind. Back then, she was engulfed in fear and tried to avoid Lucian whenever he made the first move, as she didn't know what he and the Farwells were planning to do with Archie and Benny. Because of that, she restrained her desires and tried to convince herself to let go of Lucian. However, only she knew how deep she had fallen for him. She wasn't about to let anyone ruin her happiness now that everything was back on track and her kids now had both parents by their side. Down the drain, Roxanne thoroughly enjoyed herself as Electra had ordered the restaurant's signature dishes. "It's a shame she's not here to enjoy these delicacies with us." After lunch, Lucian took Roxanne to the mall and bought her clothes and shoes. Excitedly, he picked out several dresses for her to try on, his eyes sparkling with each new outfit. "This looks great on you. It feels like this dress was made specifically for you. This one too. It accentuates your curves so well. Yes, this is the one. You look like you're fresh out of college in this dress. So young and pretty. I don't mean to say that you look old, it just makes you look even younger." Roxanne lost track of how many outfits they bought, but in the end, Lucian arranged for the store to deliver everything to their mansion since it was too much to carry. The store owner readily agreed, knowing that it wasn't every day that a customer spent hundreds of thousands in one go. After Lucian left, the sales girls informed the store owner that he was the CEO of Farwell Group. The owner was upset that they hadn't told him earlier, as he would have offered a 50% discount for Lucian. Lucian received a call from Sonia while he was still shopping, instructing him to visit the Farwell main residence when he had the time as she needed to discuss some things with him. "You can send me back first, then," Roxanne suggested as she overheard their conversation. "Okay. I'll send you back first before going to the Farwell main residence. I'll also pick the kids up after school on the way back if there's nothing else for me to do. You rest at home. Don't even think about sneaking off to work." Lucian nagged her all the way back to the mansion while Roxanne merely smiled and nodded as she listened. She noticed that his temperament had changed quite a bit after everything they'd been through, as he used to be a man of few words. After dropping Roxanne off, Lucian headed to the Farwell main residence. As soon as Lucian stepped foot into the residence, he noticed that the atmosphere was tense. Sonia looked visibly angry and immediately confronted him upon his arrival. "Lucian, don't you think you owe me an explanation? What is going on between you and Electra? Since when were you two married?" Lucian remained expressionless as he had expected Sonia to ask about it sooner or later. "Mom, it was a desperate measure we came up with to deal with Jack. It's fake. Electra must have told you about it, right?" "Yes, she did. How could you be so reckless as to treat marriage as a joke? This is a serious matter." Sonia was fuming. She was thrilled when she thought Lucian had finally cut ties with Roxanne and found a daughter-in-law who met her standards. Despite the Lanes not having the same level of power and influence as the Pearsons used to, they were still considered a prestigious family. She felt utterly betrayed when she discovered it was all a ruse. What was Electra thinking? Why would she pretend to be married to my son to save a stranger? Is she foolish? Mom, this is not a joke. We did it all to save Roxanne. I'm very grateful to Electra for helping me, and I plan to show my gratitude by doing business with the Lanes." Lucian's tone turned cold when he heard how lightly Sonia regarded Roxanne's life. Sonia's expression stiffened and turned colder. "That's not what I meant. I didn't say Roxanne's life is unimportant. I'm just curious if you've considered the consequences of doing this. Even Electra's parents will believe it to be the truth. What will happen to Electra's reputation after you announce it to the public? Shouldn't that be taken into account?" Lucian didn't want to get into a conflict with his mother. He pondered briefly before softening his tone and replying, "I did consider that at the time. You can ask Electra about this. I did this only after I obtained her consent." Sonia arched her brows. Of course, she would agree. Electra has always treated you well since you were little. She accommodated you by letting you have all the toys you wanted. She's just kind-hearted. Lucian was rendered speechless. He had a feeling Sonia was prepared to make a fuss about this matter. "Am I wrong?" Sonia became more aggressive. "Even if Electra agreed to this, you shouldn't take this matter lightly just like that. Did you at least go to the Lane residence to provide her parents with an explanation?" "You're right, Mom. I was indeed negligent in handling this matter. I will make a trip to the Lane residence," Lucian said gently, acknowledging his oversight. Sonia heard her son's conciliatory tone, but she was still fuming, so she continued throwing a tantrum. "I even spent so much time discussing the wedding ceremony and banquet arrangements with Electra's father, Richard Lane. This is just great. I'm truly embarrassed now." Lucian felt a pang in his heart. It seems like Mom is genuinely anxious to remove Roxanne from the picture and wants me to get married to another woman promptly. Still, he had to yield to his elder, so he answered, "Mom, I've indeed acted rashly. I'm sorry, all right? Why don't you pick a time to invite Mr. Lane out? I'll express my gratitude and apologize to them in person." Sonia did not expect Lucian to be so soft-spoken and obliging suddenly. In the past, they would always confront each other head-on, but he was now resorting to a milder approach. She was stumped and didn't know how to vent her dissatisfaction afterward. "I can't believe how tenaciously Roxanne clings to life." "We'll do as you suggest, then." "But Lucian, are you really not planning to be with Electra? She's gentle, kind, and can provide you with significant assistance since she studied abroad." Lucian instantly grimaced after listening to Sonia trying to play matchmaker for him again, scaring Sonia out of her wits with the scowl on his face. "Mom, don't say that anymore in the future." That was the limit of his tolerance. An awkward expression spread across Sonia's countenance. After a pause, she uttered, "Roxanne should have recovered by now, right? I'm not saying that she's not a suitable partner for you. She's undoubtedly capable, and her medical skills are extraordinary. However, she did give birth to those 2 kids with another man. That will greatly tarnish the Farwell family's good name." Lucian's pupils constricted as he stared at his mother. "Oh! I almost forgot to tell you this. The 2 kids, Archie and Benny, are actually mine and Roxanne's. They were born together with Essie. The 3 of them are triplets." Sonia fell silent as she froze in shock. She took in Lucian's serious mien and ascertained he wasn't kidding with her or telling a lie. Instead, his gaze was unwavering and shone with earnestness. "What did you say? How could those two children be yours?" "No, that's impossible." There was no way Sonia would believe that. "Underestimate Mom, that's the truth. Whether you believe it or not, Archie and Benny are my children. They were born 6 years ago together with Essie." In a strange twist of events, Roxanne thought Essie had died prematurely. "I suppose the person who was assigned to bring Essie back was Grandpa's subordinate. He certainly didn't expect Roxanne to have given birth to 3 children and taken the 2 boys away with her. The truth could sometimes be so absurd." Nevertheless, Colby's revelation, Roxanne's admission, and the instinctual affection between him, Archie, and Benny led Lucian to believe that was the truth. However, Sonia would never believe that. She suddenly raised her voice and said sternly, "Lucian, you can't blindly put your faith in everything Roxanne tells you. What's the matter? Is this a new version of the story she made up? It isn't enough that she made those 2 boys your godchildren just a while ago. Now she's tricking you into believing they are your biological sons? That woman is truly capable of spinning tales." Even the way Sonia looked at Lucian had changed as she spoke. She wondered if Roxanne had bewitched Lucian with some medication. Roxanne has such impressive medical skills, so it shouldn't be challenging for her to concoct a drug that could manipulate people's minds, causing them to lose their sanity. "No. That's not it. Mom, I know you find it difficult to believe what I said, but that's really the truth." Lucian didn't expect he could clarify everything to his mother in one go. "Lucian, you need to think this through. Roxanne is such a terrifyingly scheming woman. Why can't she be satisfied with just making those boys your godchildren? Is she planning to deceive you into thinking they are your biological kids so they can claim the Farwell family's right of inheritance?" Sonia wasn't fond of Roxanne in the first place. Hence, Lucian's words only further raised her suspicion, and she assumed the whole thing was Roxanne's plot all along. She must be seeking revenge on our family for abandoning her 6 years ago. I can't believe a vengeful woman can be so frightening. Muttering to herself absent-mindedly, Sonia was filled with the desperate urge to instill her train of thought into Lucian. Meanwhile, Lucian's expression turned darker. Poker-faced, he narrowed his eyes and gritted his teeth. After a few seconds, he unclenched his jaw. "Mom, just shut up. Do you take your son as a fool? Also, don't judge Roxanne in front of me from now on. I have a good grasp of her character," he uttered firmly. After saying that, Lucian lost his patience and no longer wanted to interact with Sonia further. Starlight Group. Roxanne turned to look at Lucian. "It's Starlight Group in Hoenn, Lucien," she softly claimed. Immediately, Lucian's face sank, and his brows scrunched up tightly. At the sight of the couple's reactions, Madeline was perplexed. "What is it? Is there anything special about Starlight Group? According to what I remember, that's the largest international trading company in Hoenn, right?" Lucian nodded. "You're right. But there's a big possibility they won't give us the antidote." "Why?" Madeline was still filled with puzzlement. Gloominess rose in Roxanne's heart. "That's because the owner of Starlight Group is Mr. Goldstein. He's the man whom Christina is with currently. You know who Christina Patel is, right?" Madeline's jaw dropped upon learning the truth. Christina? Isn't she the mastermind behind Elektra's incident? Also known as Aubrey Pearson, who was ready to fight Roxanne to death and was once Lucian's fiancé. So, everything that has happened is a part of Christina's scheme again. A vicious glint flashed across Lucian's gaze. He had been wary of Christina, but little did he imagine that she would play such a ruse. The current situation was just like a slap in his face. That woman keeps showing up everywhere. And it seems like she's confident Roxanne would come over to help. She must have wanted Roxanne to got infected as well. But she probably doesn't know Roxanne is pregnant. Her ruthlessness has reached the point where she's even putting others' lives at stake. Noticing how Roxanne and Madeline were overwhelmed by panic, Lucian glanced at the screen and placidly uttered, "I'll resolve the matter over acquiring the drug for the bacteria. We won't need to get it from Starlight Group. Now, all you two have to do is to ensure those infected are in good condition. I'll need about an hour to settle it." Madeline was dumbfounded. Roxanne, too, was in disbelief. Even if Lucian gets the medication from Miranta's pharmaceutical company directly and uses the fastest flight to send them back, it's still not something he can resolve in an hour. Nonetheless, having seen the confident look on Lucian's face, Roxanne suddenly had a thought in mind, and immediately after, a smile bloomed on her face as she nodded. Madeline's mind was in a mess, all thanks to the couple. How can they still be so relaxed and smiling away at this juncture? I'll make a call now. It'll be done in no time. With that, Lucian left the office hurriedly. Roxanne, what are you couple planning to do? Hurry up and tell me, or else I won't be at ease. There are already over 20 doctors and nurses who are infected. Including the two of us, we'll need a lot of medications. Madeline's heart was filled with uneasiness. Roxanne chuckled. Don't forget that I have a research institute. As long as we get the production process of the medication, I can ensure that my research institute will be able to develop a drug of similar effect within 2 hours. So, like what Lucian mentioned, we still have ample time. Clarity washed over Madeline. Oh yes. Roxanne formulated the antidote herself when Jack poisoned her the other time. It was only with such assurance that Madeline felt relieved. Soon after, the Centers for Disease Control's personnel arrived at the hospital and looked for Madeline to learn more about the situation. As such, she rushed to the conference room to give them a brief report. By the time Lucian returned, he was visibly calm as if he had settled the matter. I spent 300 million to get the information on the medication's composition. They'll send it to me in about 15 minutes. By then, you shall inform old Mr. Lomax's side to begin production. They won't need too much time for that. Anyway, I think I can say it now. I most likely got infected as well. I have the urge to cough too. Finishing his words, Lucian could no longer hold back and let out a few coughs. Lucian. Christina is honestly too vicious. I wish she could experience how it feels like to be severely ill. She has no conscience at all. Using me despite Roxanne and Lucian's guarantee, Madeline still felt extremely pressured. The atmosphere in the hospital was one of panic and confusion. People started gossiping and exaggerating the situation. Meanwhile, the hospital's landline was constantly ringing as the worried relatives of the patients called to check on their loved ones. Many expressed their dissatisfaction with the hospital's lack of professionalism, and some even threatened to take legal action against the hospital's executive staff. Some people went so far as to ask the hospital to move their relatives to another medical center. Upon being denied, they threatened to file a complaint against the hospital. Not long after, some of the family members hastened to the entrance of the hospital. A few vehicles were dangerously close to smashing into the building, and the family members were venting their rage by hurling insults at the hospital. Reporters were savvy and quick-witted enough to make their way to the hospital in order to document the chaotic scene that had unfolded. Leaders from the Centers for Disease Control, please allow us entry into the hospital to interview the patients. How grave is the condition that has necessitated the closure of the medical facility? The families of the patients are extremely distressed right now. We need to learn the truth. Please allow us to conduct an interview with the hospital director, Dr. Marilyn Zander, and ensure that the public is appropriately informed. The hospital's decision to not permit the transfer of their patients to another hospital has generated a great deal of controversy on the internet. We kindly request that you permit us to enter the premises. From her office window in a building opposite the hospital, Christina watched the scene play out below with a satisfied smirk curling up the corners of her mouth. Roxanne spat through her gritted teeth. Roxanne and Madeline have already been contaminated with the bacteria, and the only hope for their salvation lies with Mr. Goldstein, who holds the key to the vaccine. It all depends on what terms and conditions Lucian is willing to propose in order to secure the life-saving vaccine. She let her joy take control and revealed her innermost thoughts. Coralie was taken aback upon hearing Christina's words. She couldn't believe what she was hearing, and it took a few moments for her to regain her composure. "Are you talking about Mr. Alfonso Goldstein from Starlight Group? Is that why you're here? You're not just trying to take revenge on Roxanne and Madeline, you want to make a profit too. Was I just a pawn in your plan? I thought you were here to help me out." Christina kept her cool composure in the face of the accusatory words directed at her. She quirked her lips upwards into a sly grin and replied, "Ms. Crawford, it doesn't matter why I'm here, does it? All that matters is that you get the outcome you desire." If there was a public outcry, it would be disastrous for Madeline, as she could end up being removed from her role as hospital director, or even face criminal charges. "But that doesn't change the fact that you had used me," Coralie insisted, feeling incredibly uncomfortable at the revelation. The hospital entrance was a scene of utter chaos and confusion. Without warning, a Rolls-Royce rolled to a stop and blocked the path of the crowd. Everyone looked over to the vehicle. Slowly, a figure emerged from the car. It was Jonathan, dressed in a finely tailored suit that had been custom-made for him, and it gave him an impressive stature. His expression was grim as he walked, his steps light yet determined. Somehow, he gave off an aura that resembled Lucian's. He directed a sharp gaze at the crowd before raising his arm, gesturing for everyone to quiet down. Much to the surprise of everyone present, the boisterous and raucous noise of the crowd died away at Jonathan's request. The reporters were quick to start snapping away at him. "Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Queen. Please quiet down and listen to what I have to say." His voice, though not particularly loud, still managed to carry an air of authority. His determined poise was enough to put the family members at ease, and they waited to see what he would say. After all, his clothing and vehicle implied that he was someone of significance and importance. As the situation was under control, Jonathan grew confident and continued, "I am here today as Dr. Madeline Zander's representative. I would like to explain two matters concerning the recent emergency situation at the hospital. Firstly, I am pleased to inform you that the situation is under control, and we have devised a plan to have it resolved in the next 3 hours. Secondly, I am here to answer any questions you may have, and I ask for your understanding in controlling your emotions during this time." Mature and reserved at the hospital's entrance, some nurses were helping the Centers for Disease Control maintain order. Upon witnessing Jonathan's arrival to take charge of the situation, they recorded the entire thing and sent it to the hospital's group chat. Madeline could barely hide her surprise after watching the video. Her heart began to beat rapidly and wildly as if it was going to burst out of her chest when she heard Jonathan saying that he was her representative. Lucian must have told Jonathan about the hospital's situation. However, it was impossible that Lucian taught him to say that. Did he say that spontaneously? The pressure that had been weighing on Madeline's heart faded into thin air, leaving her feeling relieved and deeply moved by his gesture. Lucian soon received a call from Jonathan, informing him that the situation had been brought under control. When Jonathan arrived, the reporters immediately recognized him, and instead of publishing unreliable stories, they focused on the hospital's emergency handling measures. Jonathan stayed at the hospital entrance, patiently fielding any questions that the family members had. At the same time, Coralie was keeping an eye on the situation with a set of binoculars. She could make out every detail of Jonathan's expression. Can't believe Jonathan showed up to defend Madeline. Envy smoldered within her, its flames licking at her heart. She ground her teeth together as her expression contorted into a malicious grimace. 3 hours? My men told me that Jonathan claimed they could solve the problem within 3 hours. That's impossible. Even if they discovered the existence of the pathogenic bacteria, bought the vaccine from Maranta, and had it shipped via plane, it would take more than 3 hours for the vaccine to arrive. Christina's expression was as dark as thunder. However, she soon figured Jonathan lied on purpose to placate the family members. There is no way they can resolve our scheme in less than 3 hours. Not even Lucian can do that. She comforted herself before informing Coralie that she had to go back to Alphonse's side. Coralie's focus was on Jonathan, so she nodded and replied, "You just go." Christina gave Coralie a thoughtful look when discovered that the latter was making the same foolish mistake she had once made, devoting her entire life and energy to a man. "Once I depart, I will have no further involvement in the plan. As long as I return to Mr. Goldstein's side, even if I remain in Horrington, no one can harm me, not even Lucian. Mr. Goldstein is not only the proprietor of Starlight Group but also has the backing of Hohen." Indeed, Coralie's mood was affected by Jonathan. The scene that she dreaded the most was witnessing Jonathan come to Madeline's aid to help her solve the crisis. Something told her that Jonathan had changed. Previously, Jonathan had an adorable innocence about him, as he was pretty straightforward. Now, his deep eyes were alight with wisdom beyond his years, tinged with a sense of reserved maturity that added to his overall allure. What did Jonathan encounter in a short amount of time that made him change completely? Coralie had no idea what had transpired, yet her affection for Jonathan only seemed to deepen, along with her envy of Madeline. A few minutes later, Christina exited the elevator on the first floor to find that the hospital across the road was back to normal. At the hospital's entrance, the nurses gently guided a handful of patients outside to explain the current situation to their loved ones. "We're doing well here. Dr. Xander often visits us. It's nothing serious. Did you fall for someone's lie?" A patient was reassuring his family. "Really? We're so relieved to hear that. We had heard about the bacterial infection going on and it had us all worried. Everyone was concerned, so we decided to transfer you to another hospital as a precaution. Thankfully it was a false alarm. We'll go visit you later when the hospital is open for visitors." His family was delighted to learn that he was doing fine. Following that, a few patients came out to meet their families. Gradually, the crowd dispersed. Captured a cruel smile spread across Christina's face, her eyes hinting at a sinister intention. The crisis had been tamped down for now, but it was impossible to prevent the pathogenic bacteria from breaking out in just a few hours. In 6 to 8 hours, the pathogenic bacteria would spread rapidly, leading to numerous patients within the hospital becoming severely ill. This outbreak would not be contained, as the bacteria would continue to spread beyond the hospital walls. So what if Roxanne is a capable doctor? Relying on traditional medicine alone is inefficient and even outdated. Acupuncture is just a psychological effect. Having made up her mind, Christina grinned and sauntered out of the building to head to the parking lot. No sooner had she stepped out of the door than a few figures began to creep closer to her at an alarming speed. "Confirmed. It's her. Get her." The leader of the bodyguards compared her to the photo on his phone and confirmed that this was their target. "Mr. Farwell gave orders that we have to capture her swiftly if we see her, even if it means engaging in a physical altercation." He came prepared this time, bringing along a large group of subordinates with him in order to ensure that their target wouldn't be able to escape as had happened in the past. The leader soon realized that Christina was unaccompanied, so he quickly put on his guard. In an instant, Christina found herself surrounded by 5 or 6 intimidating figures. She jolted with fear as her eyes widened in shock. "You're Christina Patel," the bodyguard who first approached her yelled out loud. Christina froze, but she quickly shook her head to deny it. Alas, her expression had betrayed her. The bodyguards stood resolutely in her way, their faces stern and unwavering. She felt a chill run down her spine as she met their gaze, her heart pounding in fear. Feeling completely overwhelmed, she had no opportunity to comprehend the situation and, without thinking, she quickly grabbed her phone. "Must report this to Mr. Goldstein immediately. He's the only one capable of saving me." Christina thought she was quick enough, but the bodyguards were even quicker. As they were veterans, their reflexes were incredibly sharp. Before she had the chance to use her phone, they snatched it from her hands. "Who are you? What is going on? Someone, help me!" Christina could only scream for help, hoping to attract the attention of the bystanders. Nevertheless, the bodyguards didn't take the time to even look at the spectators. Instead, they swiftly moved to strike her neck hard. In an instant, Christina blacked out, and her body fell to the ground limply. Before she could land on the ground, two burly bodyguards swooped in and lifted her up onto their shoulders, quickly carrying her to the safety of their waiting vehicle. The leader, aware that a number of people had their eyes fixed upon them, was intent on avoiding any potential problem for their employer. Suddenly, an idea occurred to him, and he roared out with urgency, "Quickly, get her to the hospital. She has fainted. This is my younger sister who suffers from a mental disorder. After a long and desperate search, we have finally found her, so we are now taking her to the hospital located just across the street." With that, the bodyguards brought Christina to the hospital across the street hastily. Back in the hospital director's office, Lucian's phone began to ring. It was a call from the leader of the bodyguards. He answered the call and placed his phone to his ear. "Mr. Farwell, we've just caught Christina Patel," the leader reported solemnly. "Good. Bring her to the director's office," Lucian ordered as his expression turned icy. "I was right. Christina is behind this." Lucian knew Christina well enough to guess her next move. She was the type of person who relished standing atop a lofty place to bask in her own creation. Consequently, Lucian commanded his bodyguards to divide into 3 separate groups in order to secure the entrances of the 3 high-rise buildings that stood across from the hospital. It was a random thought, so he didn't expect to capture their target so quickly. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.